Hello, friends. Guys, this is a major breaking development out of the Minnesota, and honestly, I think it's one of the most serious actions we have seen taken around the childcare funding in years. The Trump administration has frozen every single federal childcare payment going into the state. Not partially, not temporarily for a few centers, every payment. Yes, guys, and federal officials are calling the allegations behind the decision shocking and credible. Why? Which tells you right away this is not a political gesture. This is something they believe is real, widespread, and potentially massive. So, why did this actually happen? According to the Department of Health and Human Services, months of reporting and the federal briefings uncovered signs that Minnesota's childcare subsidy system may have been exploited for years. Now, we are talking about the fake daycare centers, non operational facilities, and entities that were collecting the taxpayer money without actually caring for the children. In some cases, even these places allegedly didn't even exist in any meaningful way. That's a shock, right? And yet many kept flowing to them. When federal officials praised state authorities for the answers, they reportedly could not say whether the fraud was isolated or statewide. That's a huge red flag. If a state is receiving hundreds of millions of dollars and can't explain where the money went, the system has already failed. So, guys, the impact of this freeze is immediate and serious. Minnesota receives about $185 million a year in the federal childcare funds, meant to support the roughly 19,000 children. With all the payments frozen, legitimate daycare providers are now caught in the middle. Parents are worried. Providers who played by the rules are suddenly facing uncertainty and investigation. And that's the tragic part here. When the fraud is allowed to go unchecked, it doesn't just steal from the taxpayers, it ends up hurting the families and children who actually need the help. And at the same time, federal officials are making it very clear who they believe is responsible. A formal demand letter has been sent to Governor Tim Walz, and Department HHS has ordered a full audit of potentially fraudulent childcare centers. And this isn't being treated as a paperwork issue. Officials have said directly that any dollar stolen by the fraudsters is a dollar stolen from children, and anyone involved, regardless of position or political office, should expect prosecution. That language matters. It signals that this investigation is not stopping at low level operators if evidence points higher. So, guys, there is also a national impact here that people should overlook. This case has triggered tighter controls across the country. A new fraud reporting portal is now live at childcare.gov, and going forward, childcare subsidies nationwide will require the receipts, justification, or even photo evidence before payments are approved. In other words, Minnesota didn't just lose funding, it changed how the entire system operates across America. This is what happens when one state becomes an example. Now, what happens next? First is audits. A lot of federal investigators will be digging through records going back years, looking for the patterns, shell operations, and money trails. Secondly, prosecutions. Officials have already made it clear that criminal charges are on the table. And third, pressure on the state leadership. Minnesota will have to prove that it can clean up the system, verify legitimate providers, and ensure oversight before a single dollar flows again. The bigger question is now how this was allowed to go on for over a decade. Assistant Secretary Alex Adams openly admitted that officials couldn't say whether the fraud was isolated or widespread. That's not a confidence issue, guys, that's a governance issue. And it raises a hard but necessary conversation about accountability, oversight, and whether warning signs were ignored for political or bureaucratic convenience. At the end of day, this isn't about attacking childcare or cutting support for the families. It's about the trust. When taxpayers fund programs meant for children, there is zero tolerance for the fraud. And when states fail to protect those funds, the federal government stepping in this will aggressively tell how just serious this situation has become. So, guys, this story is far from over, and the consequences are likely going to ripple well beyond Minnesota. And we will be tracking every moment of this story as it develops further, and we'll keep you updating on this. Thank you so much for watching. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you guys in the next one.